So I kind of hate this video.
We're gonna try the personalized audio profile thing. Maybe it'll sound like less crap.
So yesterday, Linus of Linus Tech Tips posted his unboxing and kind of first impressions of the new Apple AirPods Pro 3. And I'll be honest, I was pretty turned off by all the temper tantrums.
Damn it, Apple!
But I also think some of his takes were kind of bad, and so as an audiophile, I kind of wanted to respond to his video from an audiophile's perspective, but also somewhat from a designer's perspective. If you're new to this channel, I typically review audiophile earphones. And so while I don't cover Apple day to day, the AirPods Pro 3, they're very much in my wheelhouse. And when Linus posted this video, it caught my attention. I guess on that note, I'm actually working on an AirPods Pro 3 review of my own. So if you want to check that out, subscribe to the channel. That should be coming pretty soon. But otherwise, let's dive into why I kind of hate this video from Linus. Okay, let's go through Linus's complaints one by one. And the first thing that he mentions is that there's no charging cable inside of the box.
Where the hell's the charging cable?
And yeah, sure, you can complain about that. Although I do find it kind of funny that a lot of YouTubers, probably Linus included, complained and wanted Apple to switch to USB-C because they've already got that cable. And now that they're shipping a product that uses USB-C and doesn't include a USB-C cable in there, there's also now complaints that it doesn't include the cable that they've already got, which, okay, again, like this is a fine complaint. If you are disappointed that there is no USB-C cable in the box, that's fine, but maybe not worth the temper tantrum.
Now I don't even get a cable?
Now his next concern is actually one that I can vouch for, and that's that the new AirPods Pro use tips which have foam in them. And as someone who uses foam and silicone ear tips all the time, I can agree with Linus that foam ear tips are generally just a lot less durable, right? Here's an example of a traditional foam ear tip and a traditional silicone ear tip. This is one, the silicone, you could clean all day long and it's gonna last forever. These foam ear tips, however, if you touch these things with alcohol, like you're trying to clean them and get them sanitary, they will disintegrate, and that can be a problem. That said, the new AirPods Pro tips, while they do have foam integrated, they are entirely covered in silicone. So that concern kind of doesn't apply. And still,
I've been informed by the labs team that one of ours already broke during our testing, one of the large ones. It doesn't look very broken. Maybe you can, oh, it's broken. That was quick.
And to be honest, I'm actually not surprised that they were able to rip the ear tips, but I think it just has nothing to do with the fact that they're foam, and just has more to do with the fact that taking the ear tips on and off of the new AirPods Pro 3 is actually kind of hard. When I was doing it initially, I thought that I was gonna be breaking the ear tips because you're pulling and stretching on this thing, and it has such a strong connection to the earphone that, well, again, I'm not surprised that you're gonna create tears. It just doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they're foam. Now, Linus's next concern is actually another one that I share with him, and it's about the size of the case of the AirPods Pro 3.
Dude, I'm so disappointed with the size.
I really think that the size of the AirPods Pro case is a big kind of competitive advantage versus a lot of other TWS. This just fits in my pocket so much easier than even something like this. So this being bigger, well, that does make me concerned. However, I will say that in practice, it actually ends up not being an issue. This is still the AirPods Pro 2, but this weekend I was walking around San Francisco with the AirPods Pro 2 in one pocket and the Pro 3 in another pocket, testing out the ANC. And I forgot which was which in which pocket, and I couldn't tell just by feeling them, which means that, well,
I'm probably just being a little whiner.
Yeah, me too. Okay, and then after a pretty heartfelt moment of Linus complimenting the AirPods Pro noise canceling, his next tantrum comes when he tries to use the AirPods as a microphone inside of the camera app.
That is how you change the microphone in the camera app from the onboard mic to the one you're wearing in your ears. Unreal.
Now, I don't disagree that this could be done more intuitively, but I think that Linus has kind of two incorrect assumptions that's making this more difficult. One is that this is a new feature of the AirPods Pro 3. It's not. This is a feature that is now available for all older AirPods, or at least the AirPods Pro 2 that I tested out. The other assumption is that this is a feature of the camera app, because it's not. It's actually a feature of the new iOS 26. So if you think about this as a system level operation, I think then it kind of makes more sense that this is not going to be a setting inside of an app. It's going to be a setting in the system, which is then mission control. You can imagine like executing it this way would make it so that other apps can also use the same functionality without having to add new UI into their app to make use of it, right? This is now a system level function, kind of on the level of like AirPlay or even like volume control, to be honest. Sure, you could have an in-app control for it, but probably what Apple's thinking is that this is a feature that a very small percentage of people are going to be using. And because of that, it just doesn't have to be that obvious. Could it be more intuitive? Sure. But I don't know that this was worth the temper tantrum that he threw.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Never tell me that Apple's software is intuitive.
Now, about 2/3 through the video, he finally says something about the sound quality, which, and that sounds kind of like my videos. But this is what he says.
They sound like shit. Why?
And I think this is a wild overreaction. Not that I'm surprised some people prefer the older sound of the AirPods Pro 2. In fact, I'm probably in that camp. I think I prefer the sound of the older AirPods, but okay, yeah, they've got more bass, they do have more treble, which yes, does make them more V-shaped in terms of their sound signature versus the AirPods Pro 2, but very few things out there are really purely neutral in their sound signature, and so there's kind of degrees of like how much of a V-shaped sound signature are you going for in order to appeal to people. And this, I think, is a tasteful execution of a V-shaped sound signature. I think most people are probably going to prefer the elevated bass on the AirPods Pro 3. That he prefers the old one, again, not too surprising. That he ends up comparing them to Beats.
The Beats acquisition was for the brand name, not the sound signature.
Now with that comparison to Beats, I assume he's talking about the old Beats by Dre sound signature, which was just, it was kind of notorious for having just way, way too much bass. The AirPods Pro 3 are not anywhere close to that. Again, V-shaped sound signature is kind of a matter of degrees. And if we say that pure neutral is a 0 and Beats is a 10, let's say the Apple AirPods Pro 2, they're like a 1 or a 2. The AirPods Pro 3, I'm gonna say are like a 3 or a 4 on the scale of V-shaped, just not anywhere close to Beats. And all this kind of also reminded me of a video that Linus published about the Sony XM6, which is actually this headphone here. This is a very, very bassy headphone, but he described it as more close to neutral, which just kind of shocks me that he's offended by the amount of bass in the AirPods, but not those.
I gotta tell you, my impression of the sound profile of these is that it's kind of like, it's the equivalent of watching a movie in filmmaker mode, but just a little bit more fun.
Now in passing, Linus actually makes a point that I super agree with.
I shouldn't need a funky workaround to get EQ.
I think audio preference is really a personal thing, and for people who are really into audio, having access to EQ is just a nice way to personalize audio to your preferences. But of course, the Apple AirPods Pro don't offer any sort of EQ, either 10-band or parametric. Instead, they offer like some features that help you personalize audio with more like user-friendly stuff, because frankly, EQ is not easy to use, and I suppose it's commendable that they're trying to make personalization more accessible, but to someone like me who wants to tinker, well, the AirPods Pro 3 don't let you do that. And frankly, for Apple, that's not surprising, but nonetheless, I actually share this complaint with Linus. Now at this point of the video, Linus is kind of tilted to the point that he can't find the AirPods Pro menu that's in the exact same location that it's been for years with the AirPods Pro 2.
What is going on right now? I'm trying to get to the AirPods menu.
Now, just before the end of the video, Linus says,
another thing that's supposed to make them sound better is if you listen at a much higher volume. So the frequency response gets better above about 80%, although that would be deeply uncomfortable for me to listen to them at. That's way too loud.
So now here, Linus is alluding to the fact that the AirPods Pro 3 changed their frequency response depending on how loud they are. And you can see it here in this graph, where at higher volumes, there's less bass, and at lower volumes, there's more bass. And there's actually science to support doing this, which is basically research that shows that people are more sensitive to bass and treble frequencies the louder things are. So what Apple's trying to do with this is that as you increase the volume level, they're decreasing the amount of bass because they want you to hear the same sound signature regardless of volume. So while Linus is kind of saying at the louder volume levels there's less bass, that would sound better, the point is actually that it would sound exactly the same. So I'm actually excited to see Linus using good quality measurements in his reviews and also bringing in DMS to kind of up-level the credibility of their audio analysis. And in fact, he brought up some things that I agree with, and I'm glad he brought up those issues. That said, I still found this video, frankly, kind of hard to watch. Maybe I'm just an Apple stan, or maybe I've got my own complaints. Like I mentioned, I'm working on my own review of the Apple AirPods Pro 3. If you want to check that out, well, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't yet, please do like the video, ding the YouTube bell, link in the description, all that stuff. Join me in Discord, and I'll catch you on the next super review. Cheers.
This review is so Join with the force of reviews. We now have the tools to brave the misleading world of audio fools. Hey, this review is super, and so are you. Grab your headphones, sniff a graph, and share your thoughts in this pursuit.